turnout that we have this year. I would like to thank a few people in particular for their help with this project. That would be the PTSA, who provided the grant money to buy the easels and the paints. Nancy Ureen and Joanne Blanchard for the librarians who helped me make this project possible and funded the new easels this year. I would also like to thank Eric Constantino and Scott Strange, who they were the brainchildren, for lack of a better word, of this project. Originally we were going to paint right on the walls, but then we decided that for safety reasons and to make it more of a rotating exhibit, we decided to do individual paintings. So this is our third year in a row doing the project, and if you look up here, this is the first and second year paintings, and the paintings that we're going to unveil tonight will fill up the rest of the walls. So it's really exciting. I would also like to thank the elementary art teachers who are going to recognize some of these names and knew these girls when they were about that big. That's Pam Alexander Dolan, Becky Lighthizer, Allison Linehan, and Jennifer Rice. Thank you so much for coming to support the art department. Thank you also to Dr. Metzler for coming, and of course to the whole administration. Even John Larry came back tonight. So. Yay! Of course, all the tech people that have helped out, and there's always someone I leave out, so if you're one of those people, I'm sorry. So what I'd like to tell you is that this project started way back in May. I gathered it was 9 AP students at the time. Sadly, we only have 8 right now because one of the students couldn't take the course. But we met in May. I gave them some expectations for the course, and I told them that they would have to commit to 20 hours of painting before they left for the summer. And they rose to the occasion. They stayed after school. Some of them came in over the summer for the second week in July and painted with me. Some of them brought their canvases home to paint. But this was a long-term project, and it really spoke to the level of commitment and maturity and talent that these AP students really have. One of my students asked that I do point out that these paintings were chosen blindly. I gave them postcards that I shuffled up, and they had to pick a postcard, and they got what they got. So they couldn't switch, and some of them were pleased with what they got, and some people had to kind of just work with what they got. A little bit about the artists that we're going to explore this year. There are 3 more modern artists to add to the exhibit. One is Vincent van Gogh, who is a Dutch post-impressionist. We have Henri Matisse, who was considered a fauvist. Fauve in French is wild beast. People were really critical of his use of color, so he was dubbed a fauvist. And finally, Franz Marc, who was considered a cubist or influenced by cubist work. And the cool thing you're going to see about this exhibit is all of these paintings were done within 25 years of each other, but they're all very different styles that kind of feed on each other, and I think you're going to see the influence that the artists all had on one another. So, without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first artist. Our first artist is Rachel Barisco. Rachel is a junior, and she painted Van Gogh's Café Terrace at Night, which was painted in 1888. So Rachel, can you please unveil your painting? And I'm just going to ask that each student is going to say something noteworthy about their artist or their painting.
Vincent van Gogh had a very colorful palette to his work, and so he made a more arbitrary use of this color palette so that he could express his feelings further. And he also used a lot of loose brushwork, and this created a lot of texture. And when someone looks at his paintings, they can almost feel the emotion that was behind his work.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Thank you, Rachel. Our next artist is Alyssa Mulhall. Alyssa's a 12th grader, and she painted, there's another Van Gogh painting, and it's noteworthy that these were both done in 1888. Her painting is Garden Behind a House. So you can unveil your paintings.
What I noticed about many of his paintings is that his brush strokes were very defined, and he didn't like to blend a lot. So you really had to try to make the individual strokes pop out rather than blend together.
Great, thank you. Next, we have Emily Steichman. Emily is a 12th grader. She too did a Van Gogh. These were all painted in the same year. And this is called Starry Night Over the Rhone. So go ahead, Emily.
Vincent van Gogh, his night paintings emphasized the importance that he placed on capturing the colors of the night sky and of the artificial light new to the era.
Thank you. Beautiful. Thank you, Emily. Next, we have Alyssa Bredbenner, who's also a 12th grader. She did Van Gogh's Irises, which was painted in 1889.
Something interesting about this painting itself was that at one point in time it was the most expensive painting in the world for $53.9 million.
Cool, okay. So Erin Sullivan could not be with us, unfortunately. She had a soccer game, but Alyssa Bredbenner is kind enough to unveil her painting, Church on a Hill. So we're going to move on to Lauren Hastings. Lauren is a junior, and she actually did, you're going to notice that these are all Van Gogh. We're moving on to Matisse now, and this painting is called The Open Window, done in 1905.
Something that's very interesting about Matisse is that he was actually the leader of the Fauvist movement. So he was kind of the one who started it all, and he was very inspired by Van Gogh's works. So he got a lot of his inspiration for color and technique from Van Gogh.
Thank you, Lauren. Next we have Molly Gogus, who is a 12th grader. She did a Matisse painting called Harmony in Red.
Something interesting about Henri Matisse is he once said, that table, I do not paint what, sorry, I do not literally paint that table, but I produce the emotions it expresses upon me. So you can see that through the wallpaper, the curvature of the wallpaper and the bright color palette that the Fauvism takes place within.
Rooney and her assistant Molly are going to unveil her painting by Franz Marc called The Fox. Beautiful. So Tegan also did a Franz Marc painting, so when she unveils her, she's just going to talk about Franz Marc in general to kind of speak for both of them. So Tegan is a junior, and the title of hers is Deer in the Forest.
An interesting thing about Franz Marc is all of his colors stood for something. Red was violence, yellow was joy, and blue was spirituality. And he was also very difficult to research, and there was a lot of things different leading back and forth about his life.
Thank you, everybody, so much for coming. I would be remiss if I didn't mention Louise Pajak. Thank you for having the string quartet play. In the string quartet, thank you. Also, Michelle Monte's gourmet cooking class for making those cupcakes. So please help yourself to a cupcake, talk to the artist, and enjoy yourselves. Thank you all so much for coming.